season is here, and
you're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Good morning. Turn this music down. Good morning, guys. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk Sunday Stream of Consciousness. It's likely to be that today, man. I'm tired. I don't know how many guys we'll have here that missed the time change last night. We aren't on at 9. We may have a late arriving crowd today. It's not 9:30. It's 8:30. Wait, did I go forward? Actually, they would have been an hour early. I can't do the math on this stuff, guys. I was out late last night. Overslept this morning because I don't ever oversleep. I did today. We'll talk a little bit about that a little bit. Welcome, everybody watching today on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We're live on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel. Actually, we are not live on the Roku channel. I don't know what's going on there. Let's try it. I'm going to try to reboot you guys, Northeast Streaming Sports, while we do this. But we will be live, hopefully, on Roku, the National Streaming Sports channel. Great content. Get it downloaded. See some great stuff. Yeah, there it goes again. We'll see if it comes back on their own. Linda or Mac, if you're paying any attention, I'm off. I don't know why. I'll try again in a second. The groups that follow us or allow us to share our content, I should say. John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities. Thank you for your comments last night about dinner out with my wife and Blake Shelton. We had a great time. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Who else? Greg Rawlings at America's Pastime, the love for baseball. Flo and the gang at Bottom Line Sports do a great podcast. They do their main podcast on did I say Bottom Line Sports? Did I say that for Flo? I'm struggling this morning, man. Anyway, Bottom Line Sports with Flo and the gang. They broadcast on Let's Talk Sports. DDH Thumbs Up, who founded that platform we've been a part of for a long time. Now we're just really kind of partners in crime. I'm not sharing live content there anymore, but they do allow me to share it to their Facebook page. Tanner and the gang doing a great job over there. Golf Buds, Sports of All Sorts, and Ken Krause. We thank SeatGeeks, who you saw the commercial for at the beginning. You also, if you like, let me put this up here for a little bit. You got the QR code, excuse me, for SeatGeeks there. Put it on your phone. Have that app with you, man. I got these seats for Blake Shelton. We had great seats last night. First row. Had a little blockage from a TV camera. But what a great show last night he did. I got to tell you. Tremendous show. I'll probably talk about it during the show. And I want to thank Mike Westhoff, who was my guest. What may be arguably the best special teams coordinator in NFL history, if not one of them. We talked about a lot of the great ones. Mike is a great guy. He's got a book out called Figure It Out, My 32-Year Journey. Changing pro football special teams. I believe that's the subtitle, but it's Figure It Out. It's a great book. When I found out Mike was coming on, I had about 24 hours notice. I've been chasing him for a couple of years. I had the book downloaded and I decided to read it. I got through about half of it in a night. It's a great read. Very interesting stuff about his early career. He bounced around in college a little bit and then got to the pros with Frank Cushion in Baltimore, and a lot of time in Miami, a lot of time with the Jets, a lot of time with the Saints, or a lot of time with Sean Payton anyway. And again, some interesting comments about some people. And Mike Westhoff's an interesting guy. We had fun. We had a lot of fun. It was like an hour and a half. Hour, 40 minutes, I think we went. Anyway, my thanks to him. Kevin Bryant will be my guest this Friday. He's written a book about, it focuses on the NFL, but it's going to cover, we'll talk about all sports. He's got a new book coming out too about college, about how teams go about acquiring competitive advantages on other teams. And by the way, you'll find out during this interview that I've been absolutely right all the time. If the teams that get caught are simply the teams that get caught. Let me try to hook up this Facebook thing one more time. Jeepers creepers. This is so annoying when this happens. Oh, now it says we're live. Oh, no, we're not. Good grief. Now it says we're live. I don't know what's going on. We're Roku, if we're off this morning, I apologize. What we talk about today, we got the injuries in Major League Baseball. I'm going to owe Drew an apology as Garrett Cole's season may be in jeopardy. Giancarlo Stanton's season is in jeopardy. Heal's out for months. A lot of big names, guys. Murphy, Profar. Can't read that one. Henderson. What is that I wrote down there? Tons of guys. Otani, you got guys with lingering injuries from last year. Otani's been slowed down pitching. So lots to talk about there. Walker, Oshida, Bellis, Devers. Is Devers a bad guy for not wanting to move his position, by the way? We can talk more about Major League Baseball. The NFL, you got Geno Smith, surprise trade from Seattle. What are they going to do? Is it Sam Darnold? Bad fit if it's Sam Darnold, I think. Rodgers to the Giants, is that possible? Saints not looking for a quarterback now, and they still don't have a quarterback because they restructured Derek Carr's contract. We can look at some of the guys in the mock draft. A lot of speculation now that it's possible the Raiders, again, there could be trades at the top, that you might see Ward, Carter, and Sanders go in the first 3 picks, which leaves Travis Hunter for my New England Patriots. Whoa. MLB we talked about. We can look at some of the stuff going on there. Was there more in the NFL? No, I guess not. NBA. How about Stephen Smith and LeBron James? LeBron's hurt. He had a little dust up with Stephen Smith on the sideline this week. Talk about that. Pretty much told him to get his son's name out of his mouth. Curry gets to 25,000 points. Where's he stand among the biggies? Knicks. Injuries piling up. Are they going to be any good in the playoffs? College basketball yesterday. Auburn loses for the second straight time. Duke rolls over UNC. Well, didn't roll, but they win over USC. It's a buzzer beater for St. John's. Big wins for Houston. Big wins for, Alabama beating Auburn, obviously. Wisconsin loses. Kentucky has a big win over Missouri. Kansas with a big win over Arizona. Cooper Flag staying. Don't know. And then we can talk about listen, we'll get into this. We can look at the NHL standings. We can look at the women again. The Angel Reese spoke up again about salaries, and she was either quoted or misquoted as saying they deserve what the NBA players get, which is absolutely nonsense. But even with their stance, and she's not the only one speaking up about this, that they deserve an equal share of revenue. Okay, I'll agree with that. Well, you owe us money because the league lost $50 million. I don't understand. You can't pay people where there's no money. The league exists because the NBA lets it exist. Anyway, let's get to some good mornings, and we'll start our conversation. Paul Spada, yo, up in Wisconsin. I know you're not a Badger fan, but a bad loss for them. Seeding-wise to Penn State yesterday as we head into conference tournament time. We'll be covering all the conference tournaments on Wednesday in the college sports huddle. This what you listen. You know what, Drew? Listen. Oh my God, I usually get through this pretty good. Couple days I readjust, but we didn't get home till like midnight last night. Had to stay up with a cat for a little bit because she was left alone for quite a while. She was a little antsy, getting old. So I'm not to bed till after 1, which was 2:15 Great night out last night. We had a wonderful dinner at Wheatfields early, and we headed to the MVP Arena for a wonderful night with Blake Shelton and his Heroes and Friends tour. Blake Shelton, I got to tell you, I've seen Blake Shelton 3 times now, and he is one of the most engaging in-person performers you can ever see. Yeah, whether you like country music or not, Blake Shelton's a fun guy. He reminds me, and again, those of us old enough, and many of us are, to remember Dean Martin and his TV show and the way you would see him in concert, right? I didn't see him live in concert, obviously, in the day, but I've seen footage. And that's Blake Shelton's are like that. He's an entertainer. He sings and does it well. He's got tons of hit songs. You can't even get to them all. But then he'll talk and engage, and he's funny. The man's timing is impeccable. He's just a great entertainer. And in the honors, the past, he likes to bring these guys on tour with him. Like last night, he had Trace Atkins, and he had some woman I'm not quite familiar with, and another gentleman who's from decades past a star. And they were very good. The crowd loved them. What an atmosphere. The MVP Arena is a tremendous place to watch a concert. The noise in their level is just amazing. Dave Guyette, good morning. So anyway, I'm trying to catch up, and I'm going to need to wire my coffee or message my wire. What decade is this? I have to message my wife for more coffee. JB! Props to the great interview to Mike Westhoff. Hope you had fun. If people have not seen it, go watch. Thank you so much, JB. Listen, I don't have any pretense that I'm a tremendous interviewer. You've given me a nice compliment. Rick always gives me nice compliments. All I try to do is get guys to talk. Sometimes I don't talk. I don't get to half the stuff I wanted to talk about ever. We did an hour and 40 minutes. I got to half of the stuff I wanted to cover. But they just run with it. Mike's a very engaging guy, and we had a good back-to-back. I'd like it to be a conversation, right? Not here's questions, go talk for 60 seconds. I'll ask you another question. We had a great conversation, and we went off a topic a couple times, which is okay on my shows, by the way. Sorry, Jack. I got to give you this. I think I heard. I don't know if you heard me at the top, Drew, but I did give you a little shout out here. And again, to be fair, Drew did point this out during the MLB update here a couple of weeks ago, and I probably did, yes, slap him down a little bit. It's just my term. I didn't necessarily say Garrett Cole wouldn't get hurt. I just said I don't think he was the most obvious guy based on one injury. But unfortunately, I'm wrong, which I am often. And you don't see the tapes disappear like, big stars like Mike Francesa. And Mike Francesa, if you don't know, hosted a very popular sports talk show on WFN in New York. Him and Chris Russo really made sports radio take off in this country. But anytime he makes bad predictions, tapes disappear. My tapes are out here forever, guys. The history of every show I've ever done is on Facebook. You can go see any interview. You can go see any Sunday Stream of Consciousness we've done over the last 5 years. I make mistakes. I was wrong about Cole. And it doesn't look good right now. Hopefully that changes. But it doesn't look good for him. Heals out, as I said, for months. It's entirely possible Stanton's going to miss the entire season if this blood platelet thing they did in his elbows don't work. I don't know. Chris F. Grave up in the frozen tundra. Best show of the best. You guys are too complimentary today, especially since I'm barely awake. Thank you. We'll do our best today. It could be choppier than most Sundays, but I think that best show on the best day of the week. I love that. Thank you so much, Chris. And Chris you guys are all great contributors to the show. Chris has been above and beyond in his irreverent content recently. He's really made me work to find some of these guys. Great job. I said Profar. I didn't say Jackson Profar this time. Drew Capital. This is jerks. For those who don't know, Drew is my, what would you call it? I guess it's not speech coach, pronunciation coach, language coach. What is it? Listen, I'm not, we talk at work. Listen, our home base is ironically enough in Canada, Montreal. And there's a lot of French speaking people. And we have one of our services. It's funny. Drew asked me about a bid Naira's putting out for a Ferris wheel, which why we need a Ferris wheel, I don't know. And I'm sure that, taxpayers are paying for that. Anyway, I won't go into that too much. But anyway, we do have another service that does provides the same service in Canada. Now, 22% of our clients and prospects prefer to speak French. We're looking for a French-speaking guy or woman, person. And it's funny because I always make the joke that I haven't even learned one language yet. I'm screwed because our president made English the main language in the U.S. I don't speak it that well. Mike was great, said he wrote it himself. He did say he had a little help, I think, with wordsmithing, right? But you're right, Rick. In the true sense of like a ghostwriter, he did not have one. I'm telling you, get the book. If you have Kindle, I got it for $9, I think, or something. I usually look for buys unless I'm interviewing somebody who's got a book. I'll pay some money. But I'm a guy who waits for them to go down to, $2, $3, and I buy the book on Kindle. And by the way, I get so many free books because when I order, and I order a crap load. Everybody does, probably, maybe some less than others. Stuff on Amazon Prime. If I can get $2 or $3 in digital credits by delaying the order a day or two, I do it all the time. I hardly ever pay for a book directly. I've saved money by saying, okay, delay that order. LaFlop is injured. Rick has been very good. I don't think he said LeBron's name in the entire time we've been on this show. LeBron's hurt. LeBron's been playing really good basketball, by the way. The Lakers, where are they? I got to find my, where the hell's my NBA thing? Did I lose it already? Jeez. That's college football. That's March Madness. Seriously? All right, we'll do it here. I want to see if the Lakers had won again. Cleveland Cavaliers 13 in a row playing great basketball. Looks like the Lakers finally lost the game. LeBron's hurt. Luka and James have been playing great together. And I will tell you this. I think Luka is going to make James a much better. We don't talk a lot of NBA here, but I'm going to talk about it right this second. Luka is going to make James a better ball player and maybe keep him in LA and extend his career. He's 40, at least 40 right now. And for all you guys who think he broke the record because he stuck around forever, Kareem played like 22 years, so please stop. Everything doesn't have to go through LeBron anymore. But anyway, he's hurt right now. He also had this altercation with Stephen A. Smith. And I know for the first time in history on this show, we may have guys sticking up for Stephen A. Smith. I don't know. He, along with other players, people, including this show, in some ways, I don't bash Bronny as much. He's not a good player. I mean, that much is clear. All I've ever said is Bronny's in a tough situation because of his father and the Lakers. Bronny should still be in college, and we'll never know how good Bronny could be. That's my take. Now, Stephen A. Smith and other people, including some of our commentators here, have been very hard on Bronny. Well, LeBron called him out and basically told him to keep his son's name out of his mouth. And some people, including McAfee on ESPN, who's got his own problems. I got to talk about him, too, a little bit in a second. Let me write that down so I don't forget. McAfee called Stephen Smith out for backing down to LeBron. And McAfee, by the way, you're some thick skin, by the way. You will go on your show daily and bash people, just like I do, just like anybody in this And again, I'm not comparing myself to McAfee and his audience, but he goes on the show and bashes people daily. They give him a hard time at the combine, and he says, well, I don't think I'm going to attend the NFL draft, and I'm not going to do this because they didn't treat me very nice at the combine. Get some thicker skin. If you want to throw out the kind of crap you throw out, Pat, and I like your stuff on game day. I'm not a big fan of your podcast necessarily, and I'm sure you're not a fan of mine, so we're okay there. But girl, you can't do what you do and then get upset when people throw sharp objects your way. God, I hate guys like that. Trevor Story, well, he's healthy for the moment, true. Listen, I always liked Trevor Story. We don't know that he'll play well. I mean, he's barely played, hasn't he, since he got there? And where's he going to play? That's a great question, actually, and I don't know the answer to this. Drew, maybe you do, and we'll dive into this in the preview show. But where's he going to play? Devers wants to play third base. They signed a third baseman in Bregman, who might have to move to second base. They've got a young shortstop. They would move Devers to first base if Bregman plays third. And I'd love your guys' opinion on what you think Devers. Nobody's mentioned him. We get a guy in New York who refuses something. He's either selfish or he's a team guy or this, that, the other thing. I've heard nothing about Devers. Speak up. Maybe we don't care about the Red Sox. I think I got Scott Kobe to speak up a while back. But where's Story going to play? I love the guy when he was when he was good and when he was in Colorado, and a shortstop. Johnny Cash wrote a song about him. Jerk said, I'm going to Jerks. Chris, that is a good one. Funny is always funny. I got a habit of calling Jerks and Profar. For those of you who don't watch the MLB update. Jackson. I don't know why. I swear this guy came up as Jackson Profar with the Rangers years ago. I don't know why I think this. It could be, it could be a lot of things at my age. Oh, Chris, that's a good one, though. Brad Marchand and his Florida Panthers. Brad's tenure in Boston knocked down Cam Keeley a few times in all-time records. Yeah. Listen, the Panthers are a good hockey team. Defending champions. Don't count them out. Mike Westhoff said he roots for them a little bit. Well, he said he roots for the Florida teams. CA, good afternoon or good morning. Sorry. Really good morning to you. Not getting why all the injuries. World-class athletes. Overtraining. Yes, JB. I talked about it on Friday, and I've talked about it many times. They train too much. They do too much weight training. They don't get in baseball shape. Whoever heard of all these injuries that they get today? I don't think guys in the 70s knew they had no oblique. Could be we just changed the names. But I talked about this for a while. Yes, overtraining or not training for baseball purposes, getting through a 162-day grind. Building up and having arms and your upper body looking like Stan. Yeah, okay, great. Gives you 115 mile an hour exit velocity. I don't give two craps about his exit velocity. What I care about is that he drives and runs, doesn't leave guys on base, and when he's on the base, he's not clogging them up. He can't even run. Have you seen this guy? 65 years old, overweight. I can run like Stan for a short period of time. So, yes, long gone are the days of selling insurance or cars or whatever they did. And they'll never have to do that stuff again. So you make commercials or whatever you do, and you work out. That's what you do. Good stuff today, guys. Chad Kelly, nephew Jim Kelly, now starting for the Toronto Argonauts. I did not know that. Signed a 3-year contract, essentially makes him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL or the Canadian Football League. Excuse me. I did follow Chad Kelly and his career at Mississippi. I want to say he played for. He didn't play for Lane Kiffin, obviously. I think he played for Hugh Freeze. I'm not positive. He could have played for the guy who was there before, whose name's escaping me right now. It'll come to me. He does a lot of TV pregame shows now, but Chad Kelly, I thought might, be a potential NFL backup. Could still be at some point. Remember Warren Moon went there when he didn't get drafted. But he was a fine player at Ole Miss. Had some injury issues. Drew with the birthdays. See how many times I get stumped here today. Daniel Hudson. Been around the league forever as a starter and then a reliever. Craig Stammen. Willie Abar. I think he's one of the guys hurt now, isn't he? At least one of the Abars are. It's become a common name. Clay Rapata. That one's not hitting me right quickly. Aaron Boone, Benito Santiago, great catcher in his day. Bit of a head case, but a great defensive catcher. A little bit of pop early in his career. Terry Mulholland famously threw his glove in the ball to first base when it got stuck in the webbing. He was a bit of a journeyman in MLB. And he pitched forever because he's left-handed. John Curtis, another good left-handed pitcher back in the day. Darrell Chaney. I've had Darrell on the show, the one-on-one show. You can go back in the archives. I think Darrell was another great guy that I interviewed. He played a lot of years in Major League Baseball as a backup with the Reds, champion Reds, and then with the excuse me there, guys. Sneeze snuck up on me. With the Reds and then the Braves. We had a great interview with him, 2-3 years ago. One of the nicest people I've ever talked to, Darrell Chaney. I'm trying to think if you spelled his name right. I think you did. Darrell, I mean. Bert Campaneris, great player back in the 70s. All-purpose guy. He was the first guy. Him and Cesar Tovar were the first guys to play all positions in a game. I think in the 60s they both did it. Jim Landis, Ron Klein, Jackie Jensen. I think Jackie Jensen wrote Fear of Flying. He had a flying issue, which really hampered his Major League Baseball career, if I'm not wrong. Archie Vaughn, definitely a Hall of Famer. Billy Southworth, Hall of Famer. And Shooty Babbitt. One season. 2 Hall of Famers and a one-seasoner. Good job, Drew. Good job. Orioles and Yanks handing the East to the Red Sox with our injuries. Yeah. Listen, and listen, the Red Sox got significantly better. They had a slow start to their off season, but listen, Bregman was a big signing for them. Goes back to his favorite team. He was drafted by them originally and didn't sign. He'll significantly improve this team, but he needs to play third base to optimize that improvement on this team. He needs to play third base. Raphael, go play first or DH. Don't be selfish. The injuries are a big problem, though. And a lot of these teams, somebody mentioned, I think it might have been Rick, a lot of these teams, I know the Yankees did it last year, have looked very hard at their strength and conditioning coaches and trainers. And again, I'm not looking at the trainers. The trainers are fixing injuries. I'm looking at the strength and conditioning guys. What are we doing, to JB's point, that's contributing to this? It's obvious the way we're training is contributing to the injuries, to me, to everyday players. That's an attractive look. Pitchers, different story. I mean, again, there's a lot of reasons. I've gone into them, ad nauseum. Verbal is a thing. Malapropism. I'm not even sure if that's a word. So you may have just made up a word, and you're probably going to prove me I'm wrong. You may have just done what I do, which is make up my own language. I have my own words. Get my point across. I love that. Malapropism coach. Thank you. Seahawks are in full rebuild mode for sure. Lockett released last week. They did a good thing. Seattle's, I think, a pretty good organization and classy. They released a bunch of guys on Tuesday, I believe. Wednesday, they released Lockett to give him his own day. And again, I think he already knew it wasn't a surprise to him. They wanted to move on, get cap space. He's been a good player for them. Good but not great player for them for a long time. And they wanted to give him a proper goodbye. And then, of course, Metcalf stepped on that. Smith traded. Metcalf asked to be traded. I think they're full build mode, unless some of the rumors I hear, and I guess check out the professional sports show on National Streaming Sports at 6 on Wednesday. Bo Crouch, who's big on National Streaming Sports, and Bo knows his stuff. Bo's up in Seattle. Bo knows Seattle sports like nobody. The word I hear is they're after Sam Darnold, which would indicate to me they're not in full rebuild mode. But outside of that, I think Sam Darnold's a horrible fit there. There'll be no weapons left. You're going to a team with a defensive mind, not an offensive mind like Kevin O'Connell. Remember, they've got Mike McDonald up there, who's a defensive whiz was a defensive whiz with Baltimore. You need a strong quarterback coach. Head coach and quarterback coach and offensive coordinator for Sam Darnold to flourish. You saw him flourish in a perfect situation in Minnesota until he was exposed the last 2 games against the Lions and the Rams. I think he was exposed badly, and I think it's hurting him this offseason. But we'll see, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Monday is, or are we in it now? I lose track of timing. You're in the legal tampering window now. And, once this is over, we'll see a lot of guys start to sign. We'll find out where Darnold's going. But I think maybe the Seahawks now have draft capital and they trade up and try to get one of the 2 top quarterbacks, which will be drafted too soon, as I said. Cam Ward, I love as a college quarterback. I'm unsure how he will be on the next level. I'm very unsure about how ready he is to contribute now. And I don't think either one of these should be top 10 picks. But that's me. I don't get paid for these things. Dave, yes, we talked about this a bit ago. Dave Cole is been undergoing some tests. I think he's got some more to go. But there is a possibility that elbow is going to need surgery and he could miss the season. That would be, and we've already got Heel out for significant time. That Yankee rotation, which looks deep, a month ago when they traded Cortez to the Brewers, who the Yankees are likely to see in the opening series, by the way. I'm sorry. Are they playing in the opening series? I think they do. If they don't, it's a second season or second series, and they may save him for the Yankees. But we'll see. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Yeah, again, I've said this forever. Say what you want. First of all, whatever money got, Bronny's not giving back, and nobody would. Not quite sure if I remember who. Somebody on this show had said, well, if you had pride, you'd give the money back. Well, that's BS. Nobody's giving money back. Somebody gave you $2 million, $1 million, $500,000, $100 million guaranteed, and you were no good at your job. Your pride wouldn't say give the money back. Nobody is giving money back. Please. You guys aren't Jesus. I'm certainly not. Actually, I see Paul corrected himself, but SMGH work, that's shaking your goddamn head. I've talked about this forever. Again, Bronny's getting all kinds of heat. Stephen Smith and other people are giving him heat when the heat belongs on LeBron and the Lakers for enabling this whole thing. If he wasn't going to get drafted, he was going to stay in school. He might have transferred, but he would have stayed in school and continued to hone his skill. You don't hone your skill once you're drafted into the NBA. And I feel bad for the kid. Nobody else does. Well, there's a few people. I do. And I'm not going to change that opinion. That LeBron was not a good dad. And I've stuck up for LeBron through a lot of situations on this show and others. But LeBron was not a good dad here. He was selfish. He wanted to play with his son. And if you didn't see he wasn't ready to play, you better never be making personnel decisions after you retire for the Lakers or anybody else. Blake had some great lines about stuff like that last night. In the music sense, not in the professional sports. But the kid, it's not his fault. And I think it's a shame because I really believe, and again, I'm not saying Bronny would have ever been any good. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm saying we will never know if he could have been any good because of the circumstances. He might have been bad no matter what. He could have stayed in school 4 years and come out and sucked. But I'll never know. And neither will you, by the way. None of you will. You don't have a crystal ball. We all have very strong opinions. None more than me. Sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're wrong. You can't make an opinion without enough evidence. The evidence is he stinks. What you'll never know is how good he could have been if he was allowed to develop as a player and a person. So, anyway, Michael Gallup says he's coming out of retirement, so even more teams can ignore him and not throw him the ball. Great line, Drew. Michael Gallup played with the Cowboys, got unhappy. The league's pretty deep in wide receivers. I don't know whether... Well, maybe he'll come back. Cowboys are going to be an interesting team this year. They're really strapped with contracts. I know Dak just to renegotiate a little bit, but they're going to have trouble. But if they get a couple of key signings, I mean, if they get Giante in the draft, I think that's a huge deal. You can fix that offensive line a little bit. There are some weapons, maybe one more weapon for Dak. The defense is not that bad. There's talent, and maybe it needs to be coached up a little bit. I think the Cowboys will be better than people expect. Xavier Worthy arrested for assault. We talked about this on the professional sports show. To me, and again, I had said, 2 years in a row, the Chiefs may have drafted suspect characters at wide receiver. We know what happened with Rice last year. He'll be back next year. And as I was speaking, James Martin spoke up, and he's right. First of all, this guy has not been convicted of anything, and we do tend to convict people in the court of public opinion now. You're guilty until proven innocent, especially the way social media is out of control, right? But there's another side of this story in theory, it looks like. I mean, and again, I will preface this, and I've gone way over the top on this topic with guys like Herman with the Yankees and other guys who put their hands on women. You don't do that. To me, that's a thing you don't come back from. And I don't care what happens to you. I have been hit over the head with a telephone by not my wife in the past. I walked away. I did not engage. Now the story here goes, how widely reported it is, I don't know, and I haven't dived into this story a lot, but James brought it up this morning, and James is very, very credible when it comes to these things. The story goes that he was being cheated on by her, his wife. She assaulted him first, as he's got physical injuries. and then he put his hands on her. And I think already they're backing off. She has already kind of backed off her wanting him to be charged under the auspices of that, oh, he's my husband, things got out of control. The story seems to be more like he was defending himself. And again, I will tell you again, I don't care. A man doesn't put his hands on a woman unless you got a freaking gun. Walk away. Walk away. Years and years ago, I said I found myself in this similar situation. Not ashamed to talk about it. You walk away. I've lost friends. I've lost relatives. I've just pushed them out of my life because they put their hands on a woman. I don't want anything to do with you if you put your hands on a woman. She pulls a gun on you, all right, maybe take a baseball bat to her, whatever, to get rid of the gun. Don't beat her. Keep your hands off women. If they're assaulting you, and by the way, there are plenty of domestic violence in a reversed way, women attacking men. There are plenty. It's not looked at the same way because a man will then eventually do something to defend himself. It's not okay. Don't do it. Sorry. It's a subject that is very near and dear to my heart. Cousins trade likely, as the Falcons won't say they won't release him. Problem is, they won't release him, Drew, but who's going to take on his salary? He wants to start. He told Arthur Blank that he wants to start. And there's a couple of places he could go. The Giants are open. The Titans is looking for quarterback still. Saints are probably out of the picture now. Seahawks. But who's taking on the contract unless the Falcons eat a bunch of it? It's tough. Maybe the president gave him some good advice the other day when he met with him. I don't know. Worthy then has assault charges dismissed. News whiplash. No, again, as I just dismissed or just talked about, the article I read that when these charges were dismissed, it was the fact that she had second thoughts and, he was sorry. And then I read the rest, another story that pointed out that, or not another story, sorry, James Martin kind of brought this to light. And again, secondhand knowledge. So James is usually pretty good. He doesn't usually get into hyperbole. So I'm going to say, I'm going to give James the benefit of the doubt and say he's correct here. The story we've heard isn't the whole story. But again, unless somebody's holding a gun on you and threatened to kill you, he was beat up somehow, or at least he had marks on him. Maybe they're defensive wounds. I don't know. Hell, OJ got injured in killing two people. Oh, I'm sorry, he didn't. He was found innocent, right? OJ had injuries as well from his own attack. The bottom line is, don't put your hands on women. God, you're dead to me. Right, that good one. Where whoever it was, may have been JB. I guess it was JB talking about people aren't getting off-season jobs anymore. Richie Hebner had one of the best ever. Very underrated player, Richie Hebner, by the way, with the Pirates and the Phillies and the Tigers, I want to say. But he was a grave digger in the off-season. Remember that story being told over and over again on the Game of the Week, World Series games. John Daly smokes 280-yard drive, all pun intended, with a dart between his lips. He's a nut, man. Listen, he can still play golf, too. He can't play at the PGA level and compete for 4 days a week. But John Daly, I see a lot of his videos on Facebook and social media, and the man can still play. He's not as long as he used to be off the tee, but he's pretty good. 280 sounds like a long ways for most of us. But Some of these guys are hitting the ball 320 now. But then his iron play is better. He's just not in the shape to be able to walk. He couldn't walk. Well, he played his Champions Tour. He might play in some Champions Tour events now. But he's a character. I've watched him drive balls off of beer cans, off of mason jars, off of dead animals. That's a joke. But he's a character. You won't see him in this, but again, for you golf fans out there, watch Full Swing on Netflix. There's 3 seasons now, and they cover basically an entire season of the golf season, and there's a lot of continuing stories. This past year was a President's Cup, and they follow a few guys who are chasing their way there. They followed Rory McIlroy's story last year, which he had a lot of personal issues and a bad loss at the U.S. Open again. That was covered in detail. The year before was leading up to the Ryder Cup and the coverage of the Ryder Cup. The disappointment there is a great series. I mean, Netflix is starting to do a lot of really good sports stuff. They got one on Aaron Rodgers too that I haven't watched yet. I can't remember the name of it now. Moron or crazy person. Tennis breaks new ground with paid maternity leave funded by Saudi Arabia. What the frick? I mean, no offense to you, Chris. I think I said I'm not behind it. I'm not going to get behind anything the Saudis are paying for. And I'm fine. Women want it. It's a whole thing. I have this conversation with people and, talking about other countries that give women a full year off, paid year off for having a baby. Who's paying for that? I'm all for people having babies. I shouldn't be paying for your maternity leave, which is what ends up happening in any socialized thing. I get it. I don't want to get rid of all social programs, guys. There are some that are very important. And if somebody wants to fund it, I'm not letting the Saudis do it. Even to have a baby, I'm not taking their blood money. But, 30 days for both spouses, that's enough. State workers have that type of, I believe that's what they have, something like that. But we can't just give you a year off with no productivity out of you and expect you expect the company to pay for it, or there be a program where you can take it off and not lose your job and still get paid by the government. These are things we can't afford, guys. I shouldn't be asked to supplement. I'd rather do, by the way, just as a point of order, I'd rather supplement this than, supplement abortions. Oh, come here. Come to New York. We'll pay for your abortion. I'll pay for your abortion. I'll pay for your room and board while you're here. You do what you want. I don't care. You stop taking the money out of my pocket. Sorry, I got off on a tangent. I try not to do these days, but because I've got a feeling, I hope I haven't chased a good friend away from this show, but it is what it is. I don't do that, and hopefully that's not the case. There's other issues, I hope. Yeah, Kenny pops in, doesn't he? And he pops out. I know Kenny doesn't agree with a lot of my opinions, and that's okay. Pretty sure there's no X in escaping. Escape. There's Drew. There's my my vocal, my battle predicate. This is the way I talk. Escaping. I've said escaping probably my entire life. I grew up in Perth, and we didn't take English. And I think I've mentioned earlier that, the problem with us becoming English being, the first language, which shocking, this country should have their first language be English. I can't speak it. Maybe I should learn an easier language. Didn't they stop tackling the CFL so players and fans wouldn't get their feelings hurt? See, that's a good one too. I do think they did stop that. Yes. Funny story. I may have told it last week. Yeah, it's shocking that I've not been an HR issue in my company over the almost 25 years I've been there, which I'm leaving. 171 days, 71 days, 16 hours, 39 minutes. That includes weekends. So I'm down to around, I don't know, 100. I might be inside 120 work days. But anyway, my company's been very good to me. It's shocking I haven't been an HR problem. But I was in the office because we're shutting down our Latham office besides. Ironically, right around the time I'm retiring, by June, maybe. So I had to go do something in the office a week or so ago. I had to pick up something, actually, and then it didn't get left there. Dan, if you're watching, it's okay. I spent the time cleaning out my office because I really hadn't, since COVID, I hadn't really done anything in my office. I just had left it as it was. So I threw away a bunch of files. I mean, if I didn't need them in the last 5 years, I don't need them now in the last 5 months I'm there. But I came across a couple of things. I brought my bullshit button home, which I used to play for certain people when they spent too much time in my office. That's just one of many. HR issue, I'm sure. But I also came across a form I had. It was hurt feelings report. So it was literally a whole form you could fill out about why your feelings were hurt. When did you first feel the need to curl up in a ball in a corner and cry? It's hilarious. And I would hand it to some people and say, fill this out and come back. Because people get their feelings hurt over the most ridiculous nonsense. I seriously feel I'm offended by nothing. I might get mad at stuff, whatever. I'm not offended. I don't care. It's always, and what's funny to me is always funny, and the problem is not always funny to other people in the world. Maybe if we'd stayed in the office 5 more years, I might have had an HR issue. You have to appreciate the utter irony in that, Chris. Which thing? Oh, the Saudis? That is all irony. Yeah, and by the way, I don't think the Saudis are like many other countries are not. There's got to be some kind of, and it's for their own. Is this for all tennis players? I gotta believe that's what you're talking about. So anybody playing professional tennis, women, I'm assuming, because despite. Never mind. Women. So every woman, not just Saudi women, I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know the story. I'll look into it. John Gonzalez, good morning. I spoke about John's earlier from the Sports Authorities. The best group out there. It's a close race with a couple people on my group list, and there's hundreds of them. But John runs a really great organization, man. We get into there's some fun stuff. He puts up some funny stuff, and some other people do. There's a lot of contemporary news, but he also does and promotes a lot of nostalgia, like I do. Go back in time, which we like to do. There's times I wish I could take some of the technology I have and go back in time, but. Oxymoron way to look at things. So Chris, I'm not sure about Joey Bosa and the Titans. Maybe he's not going to the 49ers. There's been some talk about him uniting with his brother. 49ers look to be possibly in rebuild mode themselves. They're cutting salary. They're not taking it. They're not going to take it on an injury-prone player. Titans might take a chance on him. Maybe the Giants take a chance on him. I don't know. I'm really not sure where Joey Bosa is going to fall in this whole free agency thing. And Russell Wilson, a lock with Baltimore. I mean, if he's going to sit and back up Lamar, then he's a good fit. But he's going to have to really, his ego is going to have to deal with a pretty big salary cut. I do think the Steelers, if they don't sign Sam Darnold or draft a quarterback, which probably won't be, they'll probably draft. My prediction is they sign a bridge or with Justin Fields. One of these guys is coming back, Wilson or Fields. I think it'll be Fields. Fields could play. Fields played effectively. They were 4-1. I'm not saying they were 4-1 because of him, but they didn't lose games because of Justin Fields, which is no worse than what Wilson did when he came back. And the Steelers recognize that. You saw again, Wilson exposed the end of the season last year. Just as he was exposed in Denver. Look past the numbers, guys. Aaron Rodgers' numbers aren't bad either. Watch him play. Use the eye test and tell me these are great quarterbacks. They are not. They're not even really good quarterbacks anymore. And I think Pittsburgh may draft. I think they'll take a quarterback in the third or fourth round and look to strike gold with a Kyle McCord or listen, a guy popping up the charts is probably going in the first round now. Potentially is Jackson Dart. Charlie Weiss, who knows something about great quarterbacks taken late in the draft. If you don't know the why, I'll explain it to you. If you're asked, I'm not going to go into it. Said he is going to be a great quarterback. There goes see, this didn't happen the entire time with Mike Westfall the other day. It happened before it started, the interview. I sent StreamYard a message the other day about this freezing because I don't think it's an internet issue. I did an hour and 40 minutes with Mike Westhoff the other day. Never froze once. I froze once while I was in the studio alone, but with the dual screen, we never faded once. What if I put that one on just for the hell of it? I'm going to change the. What happens when I go over here? Oh, how's that? You like seeing me little like that? Anyway, that's the one I would use if it was two people in the studio. Anyway, where was I? Yes. I don't know. He's got to be a backup. He's not going to play. We know that, right? I lost where I was here now. Oh, geez, Carl, I'm way out of. How far behind am I? 9:05. Oh, I'm 20 minutes behind. Duke versus UCLA final. Interesting call there, John. I like Duke. Duke's going to be, unless Duke completely falls apart in the ACC tournament, they get to the final. They'll be the number one overall seed in the tournament, I think. UCLA's a sleeper. I like that pick. They're not ranked. But they've had a pretty decent first year in the Big Ten. They've played much better since Mitch Cronin ripped them and called them soft a few weeks ago. I'm going to take, how about I do this? How about Duke and St. John's? Malapropism. So you didn't make up the word or you made up the definition, one or the other. I've played balderdash as well. The mistaken use of a word in place of a similar sounding word, often with unintentionally amusing effect. Is that last part in there? One of my favorite lines in The Princess Bride is, I can't remember the word being used. Drew, you might remember better than I. But the line, which probably could be said to me many times. My wife has said it to me, actually. I do not think I hope I'm not misquoting. I could be paraphrasing here. I do not think that word means what you think it means. Duke, UCLA, St. John's, Florida. That's a good group. Outside shots. I'm going to give UConn an outside chance. You want a value pick. UConn's playing better basketball right now. They did lose to St. John's a couple weeks ago, or maybe last weekend. Has had some tough stretches, but have had some really good stretches. I don't know that they're good enough to get to the Final Four. They get the right draw in the brackets, anything can happen. And they got a really good coach. I know you don't like Danny. Yeah. So outside of them, St. Mary's, maybe. This all depends so much on the draws and the matchups. But we'll see. And we'll be going more into this. I like this because you got an outsider and you got really kind of three chalk players. Because I think Duke and St. John's are going to be number one picks or number one seeds. And I do think Florida will have a chance. I think the SEC tournament champion will get a seed as well, number one seed, and probably Houston, unless they fall on their face in the Big 12. After that first series win with the Cavs, when he went around, this is LeBron, like he did himself, watching that boy, the NBA soon ended. I was still a LeBron gay. I don't remember that, CA. I'm not going to, and I won't say you're wrong because I don't remember it. So I have to take it that happened that way. I liked LeBron a lot, and a lot of people liked LeBron. I thought the first half of LeBron's career, I thought he really got it. He lost a lot of people during the decision when he went on ESPN with, I think, John Gray. To make his decision on where he was going when he left Cleveland the first time, right? When he went to Miami. I think he lost a lot of people there, not because necessarily it was the way he went about the decision. But I give him credit. He went back to Cleveland. And by the way, he did it himself, except for maybe Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving had a really good, I hate to give Kyrie Irving credit for anything. He had a great series in that final. I can't remember who they played. The Warriors, right? LeBron's a great basketball player, but LeBron has become full of himself. So I don't disagree, CA. Christian Kirk traded to the Texans, also not a surprise, although location's a good one. It might be a good place for him to revive his career a little bit. He's been in a little bit of a downhill trajectory the last few years, I think. Part of that could be quarterback play itself, and it hasn't been very good in Jacksonville. And it might be a good place. It might be a good matchup for both teams. I'm not sure that they got that guy like Christian Kirk on this team. They need Tank. What's his name? The guy who got hurt in playoffs. Tank Dell, I think, and Nico Collins to be healthy. If they're healthy, this sophomore slump of Stroud's will go away pretty quickly. They got a good running game. They still got a really good defense. This is still a team to be high on. If their wide receivers are healthy next year, maybe a Christian Kirk helps them in those, those big situations, getting the first down, moving the chains. This team still has some reason for hope. There's a Mad New Yorker. These guys need 6-8 week sessions on various topics before they get paid NIL in college. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody. They don't go to classes. Include professionals in these sessions. They have they do have. I'm not sure what prompted this comment. I don't remember what we were talking about, Carlos. But listen, in theory, I think that's a brilliant idea. You give 18-year-old kids a bunch of money. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to handle themselves without the money. But who's going to spend 6 or 8 weeks bringing these kids in and doing this when they want to get them ready for football? It's not going to happen. They have a mandatory week. What do you call it? Transition period. There's a word for it when you go to college. It's the word's escaping me. Help me out, Drew. When kids go to the NFL, but then they bring in kids. It's very famous story when Chris Carter was one of the speakers to these rookies coming into the NFL. He told them one of the most important things you can do is have a guy in your posse to take the fall for you when the trouble happened. What? So in theory, it's a great idea. The problem is they don't run these programs when they do have them correctly. Orientation is what I was working for, by the way. For somebody posted. I did get it before any looked at it. So I don't necessarily disagree, Carlos, but again, it's probably not going to happen. Only 2 reasons for a man to I think I'm not sure what word we're using here, but I'm going to say put his hands on females. Risk of harm to others or themselves. Again, if a woman's hitting you with her fists, you don't hit her back. You can freaking walk away. So I just wanted to say it. I'm not saying you're not saying that, CA. If they got a gun on you, that's a different story. Or any other reasons are the boys' decisions regardless of age. Any other reasons are the boys' decisions regardless of age. I get it. I would say, I agree with you. I think we're saying the same thing. But again, if she's abusing a child with her hands and you have to physically get on her, fine, I get it. If she's coming after you with her hands, unless she's a freaking black belt, then I would engage her anyway. You also have the ability to turn and walk out the door and call the cops yourself. But if there's a gun on you, that's, all the rules are out the window. Fred Cox was I did not know this. Fred Cox, longtime kicker for the Vikings. I remember my dad, my friend Ronnie Papernak's dad, Danny, he's a big Minnesota fan, Rick, and you might have known Ronnie's brother, sister, Kenny, and what's his sister's name? I can't remember his sister's name now. But I used to hang out at their house a lot when I was a kid, and he was a big Vikings fan. He hated Fred Cox. Hated him. Nicest man. The nicest family you can imagine, the Papernacks. Ronnie, who was in my class and then moved to Bishop Scully for his, I think he went there in like 9th grade, maybe 9th or 10th grade, but we still became good friends. We drifted, our senior years when I got busy, or junior year maybe, when we both got busy in sports out of respect to schools, and we never got together. Even they moved to the city out of Perth, and he went to Scully. And early on, I used to go down to their house a lot in the city, and we had a lot of fun. But I lost touch with Ron, and he sadly passed at 50. God, 15 years ago. That's unbelievable. 50 years old. His father had heart issues his entire life. I know he had several heart attacks. I worked summers at Breton Industries where he was a GM for a couple of years. And his mom used to not tend bar, but waitress at the Drum for my stepdad, Butch's Drum, the restaurant. So I don't know why I'm getting myself a little maudlin here. I apologize, but great family, and Ronnie gone way too soon. I was shocked when he passed 15 years ago. Man, Jesus. Anyway, I didn't know he was a chiropractor, but I did know he was the inventor of the Nerf football. Guarantee he made more money off the Nerf than he ever made playing football. Look at these bathroom reader notes. I've got 1, 2. Gino Petrelli, who I've chased around trying to get That seems to be our topic today. Off-season occupations for sports, sporting players. I need my hour. Gonna be a lot of nap time this afternoon. Looked at these bathroom reader notes. I got one too. Gino Petrelli, catcher with the Texas Rangers and some maybe some others. Decent player. I've chased him trying to get him on the one-on-one show, by the way. Used to work as a plumber in the off season. Good one. Where am I? I'm starting to catch up. Not really. Canadian Matt Campbell. Hey guys, anytime you're making comments, especially new guys who come in, hang in if you want to hear your answer. Every comment goes up. I might skip one if I've already talked about it, or it's just so hey. Canadian Matt Campbell hanging in there in the third round of the PDC Belgium Open. Y'all can catch the action and the final today on a multitude of streaming apps through Fire and Roku that carry FanDuel TV. You know, I still haven't looked for that on my Roku. I got to do that. I'm assuming it's a channel similar to the National Streaming Sports channel that I need to download. I got to look for it. I use FanDuel for some wagering. That's our professional darts update from CA today. We appreciate that. Where is that? Is that in Belgium? Oh, jeez. Sorry about that noise, guys. I was going to just ask where that is, and it's obviously in Belgium. Who's buried in Grant's tomb? For the pride of Westbury, Massachusetts, John Cena turns 48 today. A wrestler, no? Not sure. I'm going to say wrestler. Yeah, where's Danny Fuller? This hour's really got to be affecting him. It's still only, 7:42 now, but the show would have started at, it would have been 6:42 real time right now. And when the show started, it really would have been 4:30. So he'll probably pop in about the time I'm getting ready to leave. People would rather feel offended and revel in the righteous indignation than actually communicate and try to work things out. Apparently, relationships are easily expendable. Agreed 100%. That's a great point. And a lot of the offensiveness, I mean, again, I never mean to offend people. I don't. But if I do, I'm not going to just change my thought pattern and my belief system based on what other people think I should think or what wouldn't hurt their feelings. I don't go out of my way to hurt people's feelings. I really don't. A lot of people do not agree with my political philosophies. I'm okay with that. I don't agree with theirs, and I'll disagree with them. And if they turn into an argument, they turn into an argument. I'm okay with that. But I've never dismissed a friend. And I'm not saying anybody here has, by the way. I want to be clear. Dismissed a friend because of that. And I won't ever. We're entitled to disagreements. We made up of a country who disagreed. The founding fathers didn't agree on everything. They fought in tooth and nail about a lot of things in the founding of this country. So it's okay. And I don't think I've been unfriended by anybody. And I hope I never am. If I am, that's their problem, not mine. Never will be. You know, I have learned to, and again, I'll make a little comment here and there, and I don't mean it to be, to prod people or poke people. Maybe I do. Maybe subconsciously I do. I don't know. But I've learned I've had to tone down my own rhetoric. Here's the problem, though. And quite frankly, I get asked to turn down my rhetoric, and I do, and I have. But the problem is, if I have to tone mine down so other people don't have to listen to it, those same people need to do the same thing. Because I am going to engage when it's put in front of me and I vehemently disagree with something. I got two choices, and I could do this. I could just shut up. But if I just be quiet, please don't assume I agree with you just because I haven't spoken up. Because I am working on this very, very diligently. Not just, I mean, there are a lot of silly things going on right now, as far as the rhetoric on both sides of the aisle, and I'm trying very hard to be quiet. I probably speak up too much when it's just my wife and I, and she points it out to me. But it's got to work both ways. If we're not going to have discourse, it can't be, because the problem is if I don't speak up, people are going to think I agree with them. I'm not going to do that. So anyway, your point is very on point, Drew. Joey Bosa to Miami. Jerry Bosa. You know, the problem is he's going to make a lot of money and he's injured a lot. He's a great player when he's healthy. And it'd be interesting to see him with his dad. It'd be interesting to see him in Miami. Miami needs some help on that side of the football. But, you know, what's the word? The best. The best ability is availability. So he's got to be available. But that's not a bad thought. He's going to get a job, and he can probably get a job with a really good team, and I think that's what he's going to do. I think it's possible Jackson Dart is the best quarterback in this draft, and he's been shooting up the draft boards like crazy. And I'm not talking about the mock drafts, right? He is shooting up there too. But the guys who evaluate the players, for instance, Cam Ward has been anywhere from, I think, 15 to 22. He's going to get drafted in the top 5. Shedeur Sanders has been anywhere from like 17 to out of the first round, back of the second round. It's not going to happen. He's probably going to get dropped get drafted in the first 5. With that said, if there is a guy who's going to really fall, like Aaron Rodgers fell, like Dan Marino fell, like Brady Quinn fell, and some other guys, some rightly, some wrongly. Shedeur Sanders is a candidate for that. We talked about it. We talked about this on the professional football show this morning before I came here. And I seem to be, I think Jack disagreed with me. Maybe he's the only one. Shedeur Sanders had his one-on-one with the Titans, and he brought his dad. Who brings your dad to an interview? I'm not saying that Deion can't have some input, and Archie Manning did it. Other families have had influence on where their players got drafted. That's different than going to a one-on-one interview. I've interviewed lots of people and hired and fired lots of people in the 25 years I've been doing my job. You know what would happen if somebody brought their dad with them to the interview? It wouldn't last a minute. And if I'm the Titans or any team now that sees that, I'm questioning, I'm not sure exactly what, but I'm questioning something about the makeup of Shedeur Sanders. I froze all winter. Listen, I'm not a jacket guy. I don't like jackets because I like to be able to go into a place and like make an Irish goodbye if I want to. Like nobody knows I left. So I rarely wear a jacket anywhere, but I've worn a jacket more this winter than I have in quite a few. Here's a fun stuff. We got 9:28. I'm still 20 minutes behind. Here's a fun stat from spring training. Oh, are there? Is that an oxymoron? Sorry, Drew. I do know what that means. I guess I'm not going to panic and try to get another coffee. I'll get one when we're done. Certain players are doing nothing but swinging for the fences. Well, there's a shock. Probably hurting their timing. J.D. Davis, 22 at-bats, 12 Ks. Alvarez 22-11, Zach Geloff 20-11, Goldschmidt, 22-10, and of course Joey Gallo. That's a pretty good ratio for him. Sign of the times, Drew. I don't think it's a spring training thing. I mean, we don't see it quite these ratios, right? But oh my God, we don't care about strikeouts. Teams have made it obvious they don't care about strikeouts. They just don't care about putting the ball in play. Right? Inconceivable. What's that one for? Did I see it? What's that word? What's that for? I need some context. Inconceivable. Did I say it wrong? Did I say that word? I don't remember even saying that word, so that'd be a bad sign right there. Paul Rosen, who I interviewed on my show, Chris F. Grave helped me get him on. Great inspirational story of having played in the Paralympics in hockey, and he also it's slipping my mind now, but played another sport later on, and is coaching hockey in Australia now. Great guy, great interview, great inspirational story. And as Paul Rosen, as Chris says, friend of the show, made an interesting prediction for the Stanley Cup final. I might get him on. Jim Behringer is our guy for hockey. We know that. We love Jim Behringer. But maybe we'll when Jim's on the last Friday of this month on the 101 Sound Off show on Fridays, maybe I'll try to bring Paul in for that. See how that goes. Might be interesting. I could certainly see that. What do you say? I'm sorry, Dallas versus Florida. There you go, CA. Shout out for your Stars versus Florida, the defending champions. I could certainly see that. Just imagine the late night ratings drop in Eastern time zones. Yes, I think that's probably not a matchup the NHL or the TV networks necessarily would love. But there's probably some others they wouldn't like. Chris, where's my hockey? I know I had hockey up here. Whatever. Try to keep this stuff straight, and then I lose it anyway. I mean, Florida's playing great hockey. They're definitely one of the favorites with the Capitals. The Capitals are a good bet in the East as well. Rangers are just struggling trying to stay alive in the playoff race. But Winnipeg, again, that'd be a time zone. Listen, I think it'd be a great story for a Canadian team, especially this year, maybe, to win the Stanley Cup. They haven't done it in 35 years. But there's some in the West. Dallas is probably the best option from an Eastern time zone perspective, I would think, Chris. I mean, Winnipeg would be not good. I'm pretty sure they're at least, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if they're in the Pacific time zone or the Mountain time zone. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're in the Midwest, Central. I'm not sure about that either. So I could be wrong. I mean, Vegas, Edmonton, again, time zone is always going to be a problem on the West Coast race or the West divisions. We'll see. But they're going to start those games at the same time, though. They're still going to start them at 8 o'clock. And if they're not, then they're nuts if they're going to start games at 10 o'clock. Spring golf swings, baby. I had my clubs out the other day, clean them up. I probably won't get a chance to play much. When I retire, I will be playing plenty of golf. In fact, my plan would be to go up here to Eagle Crest, and I think I will get a somewhat limited membership where you can play during the week. And I'd have to play 3 times a week to make that make sense financially. But I'm not a guy who's afraid to go up there and just hang out and find a threesome that needs a fourth. And I will play golf that way. And that's how you establish some relationships and you find other people to play with. So there we go. That's my plan. Can't wait. There we go. Story. Well, I thought, who's the kid that they had playing shortstop there? Another note, Bo Bichette looks healthy too. I was going to say everybody looks healthy in spring training, right? But that's not true. Who's the shortstop for the Red Sox? I'm missing something. Didn't they have a kid? I thought they had a whiz kid. What the heck am I thinking of, Drew? Obviously, got to get myself. Where's the depth chart? By the way, Trevor's Story. Where's the guy? I don't know what I'm thinking of, man. I don't even see anybody that makes sense. Man, that's weird. I could have swore it was a guy they had as a kid there. I don't know what I'm thinking about. LeBron's a great basketball player, but he isn't Michael Jordan, and I would take him over. Again, you can't look at just numbers. I'll tell you what. You want to look at how you talk about Larry Bird, and I agree with all this, by the way. I would take Jordan over LeBron. I think LeBron's close. I'm not sure if I'd take Bird over him or not. As great as Bird is, listen, you take the top 5 guys, to me, they're going to be interchangeable. It's impossible. Maybe even deeper. I don't know. Maybe 10 guys. That's probably too much. No, because you're going to run into Russell and you're going into Jabbar. And it's going to depend on how you want to build a basketball team. And I think once you get into top 5s and pretty much anything, you can make them interchangeable. But a guy who's not getting his due, I saw this comparison of Michael Jordan to John Havlicek. John Havlicek, when you just look at numbers, and by the way, I watched John Havlicek play as a kid, as I know you did, John. A great player, great shooter, great defender, great ball handler. If I could find this. Hondo versus Jordan. If I can find this, shit, looking for it in the wrong place. Whatever. Let me just see. I'm not going to look for it. When you look at the numbers, and again, I say you can't look just at numbers, right? But Havlicek really looks, and because I saw him play, just totally different player than Jordan. The game was on the floor, not in the air. John Havlicek matches up very well with all these guys. I've got Havlicek in my top 5. Because I'll give you LeBron, I'll give you Jordan, I'll give you Bird. I'm going to take Havlicek, and I'm going to take Magic. The centers, and maybe it's because of recency bias and centers aren't as good. Chamberlain, Jabbar, Russell, all fall down the list. To me. But they're in the top 10. Oh, we love any John Candy reference. Late comedian John Candy is on a resurgence with the youth of today. Is he really? Discovering his work. Many youngsters today baffled that John Candy and Wayne Gretzky were once co-owners of Toronto Argonauts in the early 90s, and Argos used to sell out the then Skydome. Wasn't John Candy involved in the somehow in who's the guy? There's another great 30 for 30 about Gretzky's move to LA from Edmonton. And I feel like John Candy was somehow involved in it. I don't know why I think that. John Candy, there's some great John Candy movies out there. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a must-watch for my family Thanksgiving. Every year, watch that movie. With oh God, funny movie. Uncle Buck's a funny movie. He's great in Splash. He doesn't have a big part, but he's great in Splash. Underrated. Some stupid. Summer Rental. Great. When he eats the whole freaking prime rib or ribeye, whatever it was at that restaurant. Too funny. Only one rookie quarterback has a chance to start in the next Super Bowl. J.J. McCarthy. That's fair. He's not a rookie. I don't actually, now that I think about it, I don't think he's going to be designated a rookie. I get what you're saying. First year starter, maybe, is probably a better way to say it. I do not think J.J. McCarthy can win Rookie of the Year next year. That's a great question now that I think about it, CA. You got to check it out. See if he's, what the hell? Sometimes I get too many things going on with my laptops. Is JJ McCarthy a rookie? But first year player, I mean, would still be a good way to look at this. I still think it's possible they bring back Darnold on a short contract. Yeah, he's not currently a rookie. So, but your point's still, I think, accurate because he's a first-year starter. I don't see any of these other guys. I mean, first of all, they're going to go to bad football teams. There's only maybe 3 guys getting drafted in the first round. And if Dart gets into the first round, and Dart's going to go to the best team because he's going to be the back of the first round. And so he's probably not going to start, maybe. I don't know. Situations matter. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders are likely to go to bad football teams. So they got no chance. So you're absolutely right. Sorry about that. I lost your comment. Good call. Matt Campbell couldn't get over the line, lost to Ross Smith. You don't want to get over the line. That's a foul, isn't it? Yankees have a 19-year-old shortstop in spring training named George Lombard. The kid will be a future star. Tall, lanky kid, still filling out. Will probably shift to third base due to Volpe at shortstop. That's a good one to watch. Wasn't the Yankees didn't they have a George Lombard decades ago? I feel like he was a catcher, first baseman, something like that. Catcher / first baseman. When was he related? Wasn't there a George Lombard or I feel like there was, John. Help me out. Right down the street from John and Creature. Papernacks lived on McQueen Road when they lived in Perth. McQueen Road. I'd walk over there from the Drum when we lived there. Great family. You might be thinking of I think the Pickrells lived down. On Route 67, or not Route 67. Jesus, 107. I think. Rick, sorry, we're in our Perth mode now. 24-25. The rest of us, I don't know this one. It's a Fernando Tatis, who finally turned 50 this year. It seems like he ought to be older than that. They're in the Mexican League, I'm going to assume, right, Rick or Chris? I know you're a Mexican League aficionado. I did. How did I offend Namath fans again? John Gonzalez. I did, and I did walk my comments back just a little bit, John, just a little bit. I really don't mean to demean Joe Namath. I really don't. I like Joe Namath a lot. And he was a very important player in this league. Again, I'm just unsure about today. But to go back to this comment, I don't think I offended him today, unless I really lost my mind. I don't know what the hell I'm saying, which is entirely possible. John's never going to let me live this down. John might be the biggest Joe Namath fan in the world. And I'm never living this comment down, which is fine. Roku live channels. Oh, live channels cover FanDuel Extra. So does Tubi. I love Pluto TV, by the way. Because I'm old school, man. I love to watch my old police dramas and sci-fi shows and comedies. And Pluto is just a wealth of really good TV. And there's some newer stuff. No, I shouldn't say newer stuff. More contemporary, not today. A lot of great documentaries, a lot of great movies. I watch Pluto a lot. But as CA says, great place to get FanDuel is Amazon Prime. So others haven't added the channel yet to their live lineups. Well, Amazon doesn't have any live lineups, I don't think. Tubi does. Pluto does. Samsung TV does. When we moved here, one of the deals I made in like a 2-year-old home at the time we bought it. They had all the TVs mounted in like every freaking room, and I don't know. We were haggling over something, and I said, "Fine, you leave the TVs," which he did because I don't want to have to rehang TVs. So now I've got that. Plus, I brought like 7 TVs with me, which are down here in the basement with me. I got a TV here in my office. I've got 2 TVs set up in my little man cave part of the basement. I got another one over in the corner over there. I've got an extra one that I bring up I put in the family room or the great room, whatever you want to call it. When I have college football or pro football and I need to watch multiple games, I'll put that up in there. And then I got one I keep outside for the summer. Hello, Linda. Linda and Mac watching on Roku. Great job on today's show. We're just winging it here. That's what we do on Sundays, man. It is literally a stream of consciousness, as I said. I've been all over the place today. I've been talking about, we've talked sports. We've talked off-season jobs for athletes in the past. We've talked domestic abuse. We've talked the landscape in the country as far as people being offended by everything. I've talked about reeling in my political rhetoric. We've been everywhere. Big story here. Knicks lose Jalen Brunson. Really bad timing. This team is not deep anyway. My phone's listening to me and recording everything I say, apparently. Hang on, I got a text here. I want to make sure it's not important. No, it's Jersey Mike's. Of course, that's important. Knicks losing Jalen Brunson is never good timing. But now, this time of year, as we're heading towards the stretch run, let's see, I want to pull up the standings real quick. As they're trying to, maintain the 3rd seed in the East, and they got just a 3.5 game lead. He's going to lead, and they've lost 3 games in a row. Towns has missed some time with a personal situation. The team is not deep as it is, which is probably going to be their Achilles heel in the playoffs. To lose Brunson now, and thank you, Drew, for bringing up an NBA question. That's not your normal modus operandi. See, I can use words right. But I appreciate that. Because I did want to get on this. This is a bad time. Again, we played 63 games. There's 18 games left. He's going to miss at least a few weeks, maybe more. Again, then you got to get back in game shape. Again, maybe sometimes because he's played a lot of minutes too, because Thibodeau's really had no choice but to really ride his starters. Assuming this injury is something he will overcome, it could be a silver lining here because he'll be more rested when we get to the second season, the playoff season. But never good when your star gets hurt. And by the way, Jalen Brunson does not get enough credit. When you hear about MVP candidates, Brunson should be part of this conversation. Not saying he should win. He should be in the conversation. And speaking of MVPs, former MVP, the Jokic from Denver. What a tremendous game. First guy ever in history. And Denver's, by the way, they're a contender in the West. Oklahoma's really played great basketball. 11 more wins than anybody else in the conference. But they're young, and I don't know what they'll do playoff time. They're heading towards a really good finish to the regular season. Denver's making themselves. The Lakers have really pushed forward. Even the Warriors playing much better with Jimmy Butler. Not happy about the way he got there, but they're playing much better and rejuvenated basketball. West is going to be wide open. But the Joker did something nobody's done ever in the NBA. 30 points, 20 rebounds, 20 assists on, I think, Friday night. What a great game. It was Friday night? Yeah, I think it was Friday night. So the Knicks really need to, I don't know, you're not making trades this time of year, right? So I do not know how they're going to lengthen this bench and really be able to get into a playoff run here. I mean, they could get knocked out early by, somebody. They're not going to get one of those play-in teams. So they're probably going to get the Pistons in the first round, I would say. If things ended today, they would get the Pistons, who have played a lot better basketball, by the way, guys. Maybe better off not facing the Pacers, who they crashed against last year when injuries caught up with them. Some stadium names run by companies that don't feel like they are digging into their by companies that don't feel like they're digging into your pocket. Little Caesars Arena, Minute Maid Park. That gives you monthly insurance, gas, or cable bill. Doesn't give you the same warm, fuzzy feeling. No, it doesn't. I mean, again, by the way, all these corporate sponsorships, you're paying for it. There is no free lunch, guys. If you buy Little Caesars, that's all factored into the price of what you're paying. So, I don't know what a park that gives you monthly insurance, gas, or cable bill doesn't give you the same warm, fuzzy feeling. I feel like I get it. So you're talking about a park that is, I don't know, an energy company who sponsors a stadium is not as bad as a private company. No, but you're paying for it regardless, I think, Chris. Don't you? I mean, again, if Little Caesars is sponsoring an arena or sponsoring anything, you don't think that goes into the cost of doing business? Where does that get passed to? The consumer. Always. It doesn't matter whether it's government or private industry. All this stuff gets passed on to the consumer. Always. That's just my mind. Oh, inconceivable. That was a Princess Bride word. Yes. Thank you, Drew. Inconceivable. I do not think that word means what you think it means. I got to watch a movie again. I haven't watched it in probably 20 years. I'm frozen again. What the flock? I'll be right back. You know what's funny? I know I froze because I can't get to the next comment. And I don't know if that's where I should be or not. I guess it is. When I freeze, as soon as I go to the refresh button, I can see I move. Sometimes I've been able to take myself out of the studio, but it doesn't let me click on anything. So it's not just the screen that's frozen. It's StreamYard has frozen entirely. It's not my internet. I got the fastest internet you can buy, man, and this thing flies. I told you my upload speed's like 600, and the download speed is like almost 30, which is both those numbers are inconceivable. Sorry, sure. They are conceivable because I've got them. So I don't think it's that. By the way, it's not cheap to get that. I do it because of doing these shows. There's Danny Fuller. Finally woke up at 9:14, or let's see, 7:14. It's really 6:14 your time, Danny. We understand. I had a little trouble this morning as well. I slept later than I've slept in freaking forever. Out late watching Blake Shelton. Probably got to sleep about 2:00 my time. But we had a great time. What a great freaking show, man. Love his shows. Marcelo Meyer is a Sox prospect at shortstop. Yeah, it's not the guy I'm thinking of, man. I got to be mixed up with something this morning. Yeah, that's totally conceivable. That's not inconceivable. Actually, I'm going to make a goal now to use inconceivably incorrectly all the time. Now I need the definition of inconceivable, so I make sure that I misuse it correctly. That's already an oxymoron. Isn't that an oxymoron? Misusing a word properly, incorrectly. Or did I misuse that too? Oh, Andujar is a boy of spring. Last year, he went the entire 68 at bats without striking out once. I think he has a Geronimo Barrera. And, well, Barrera struck out a lot, didn't he? We love Andujar, but he's just never come. I don't know what his numbers are this spring. I don't know if he's got a chance to make. Is he still on the A's? I'm assuming with your comment. I have not started. Drew and I will be doing our MLB preview show, by the way, in the next few weeks, probably on a Friday. Drew didn't correct me, so I'm assuming we're going to do this on a Friday. Part of the MLB update will extend that show a little longer. I don't see him on their depth chart. Oh, there he is, left field. Miguel Leonard. He's listed as a starting left fielder. God bless. I was always a Miguel Andujar fan. I think Barrera struck out his fair share of times, though. Pete Maravich, amazing player, never got his due. Not top 10, though, unfortunately. Pete was a one-on-one player. I don't think Pete. He changed his game a little bit at the end when he got to the Celtics, right? And he was a lot of fun to watch, but I don't think Pete really made players around him better. He did have a lot of assists, I guess. So I don't want to be too hard on Pete like I was on Joe Namath. And really sad that we lost Pete at 40 years old, I think. The Pistol was a great college player. A lot of pressure on him when he got to the pros. A lot of his teammates didn't like him. He was the highest paid player on his team as a rookie in Atlanta. But I like Pete. Pete had some demons too, and it was sad that he died playing basketball, of all things, I think at 40 years old. LBJ, what he's doing at 40 is amazing. I agree 100% at that level, but best, not even, let me reread that. What he's doing at 40 is amazing, and at that level, but best, not even. Oh, I see. I would actually take Magic. I got Magic in my top 5. And if you didn't hear me earlier, Danny, I ranked my players, Jordan. And again, I think these guys, some of it's interchangeable. I like Jordan. It's not to play a game. Well, maybe he could play basketball with his team. Jordan, Bird, Matt, excuse me. Who we just talking about? James. So Jordan, Magic, James, Havlicek, and Bird. Those guys will win some games. He'd actually take Magic. If you line them up and first pick gets one to yeah, I get it. LBJ isn't considered in that group. Top 3, yeah. He's going to get considered over Magic. He just is. I think. Again, the opinions are like, you know what. But again, I've got Havlicek in my top 5. I guarantee you that's not a lot of people. I saw a post come up showing, and I watched Havlicek play, as I know you probably did, Danny, and I mentioned to John, he probably did as well. A lot of us did in this group. Havlicek's really underrated. And you look at the numbers compared to Jordan's, they're amazingly close. Amazingly close. Except in championships, which are a lot more. All of which he contributed to. Played well late in his career. Now, again, that's not all numbers because I watched the guy play. Totally different games, obviously, they played. He's a guy whose greatness has been getting diminished by recent history and recency bias in my mind. Knickerbocker, still the Knickerbocker. They won't hang a banner till, yeah, I hope I live to see it. It's been 52 years this year. I'm 65, so I'm not going to live at this rate. If it takes another 52 years, I'd have to live till I'm 117. I want to. Not sure. Even if we're traveling, Sunday mornings have at least one TV on sports, usually darts, one tablet, two on the news, Keith from my phone, unless no reception. Well, we appreciate making that cut. I mean, I got a TV going over there. I got the news shows on. I got, the Washington news, the shows from Washington. If I can deal with the bias that goes on there. They're on anyway. And I got a ESPN. I got Sunday morning on next to me here, which will go into Face the Nation. And I've always kept, my wife thinks I'm nuts because I keep TVs on for the cats. The cats. There's only one left in the basement. I want to try to get to the rest of these. We only got about 8 minutes left, but don't let me run out. You can put a couple more up. No free lunch, like many parents in school systems teaching the opposite. Well, true. There is no free lunch. I mean, I don't know why people think there's nothing for free, right? I mean, everything has to be paid for. Here's hoping Javier Baez is back on track this year. Oh, man, I don't know. Yeah, but he has been good in a couple of years. Listen, he had a really good couple first years with the Cubs. I think he's gotten into a lot of bad habits defensively and at the plate. Strikes out way too much. I don't think he's a bad guy. Playing hurt doesn't help, but also you have to take accountability too for your own performance at some point. And his performance has dropped off a lot since he got, a big free agent contract. And by all intents and by all accounts, the Cubs weren't necessarily sorry to see him go. But listen, I don't wish anybody poor. I wish hope he gets back. So good Sunday to you. Beer, potatoes, and monster trucks. I'm not going to do monster trucks, but I might get into some beer. No beer. No beer today. I haven't had much. I've been people see I post a picture of my beer when I go out to dinner. That's the one beer I had yesterday when I posted a picture from Wheatfields. Often if I post a picture, that's the one beer I had. I was on a 10-day, 11-day cruise recently, and I had a bottle of wine for dinner one night, but I probably had 5 beers all week, and then one margarita and one of the ports, and that was probably it. That's all I had all week. And before that, I went at a baby shower. I had a couple of beers with my buddy Mark, and from that time, I think that was like the 6th of January. Until we went on the cruise, I didn't have anything for a month. I just not feeling I like my beer. I don't drink to excess. I just haven't felt like drinking beer, alcohol recently as much. If I don't want it, I don't have it. I feel bad sometimes. My son-in-law come over and want to have a couple beers, and I'm not in the mood. I won't have it unless I want it. Luke Woodhouse staying competitive against 18-year-old world champion Luke Littler. That's the Lukes are facing off in darts here. Someone sponsor Keith Engle so us consumers can pay. It's not anything to do with money, Danny. Believe me. I pay as much as you can possibly pay for cable internet speed, and my speed is, as I said, it's off the charts. 600 on the upload and almost 30 most of the time on the upload, which 15 is all you need to stream is like 8. No, it's something with StreamYard, and I don't know what it is. And if you watch the Mike Westhoff interview, I froze just before I brought him on, and during the hour and 40-minute interview, we didn't freeze once. Maybe got to leave myself in a side-by-side with. I'll just put a picture up. Maybe I'll put the TGI Sports Talk thing up, and I'll just be on half the page. It's frustrating. So no, let's get a sponsor so I can put the money in my pocket. How about that? Thank you, Danny. March 28th. You want to do it 28th? Actually, you'd be wrong. Nobody listens to it. So just to, so Drew, and I think I've told you this before, you never worry about live. I get done with this show or any show, and we'll get done with that show. I'll have anywhere from 50 to 200. Actually, a couple of times recently, we've had 500 views. You can't go by what you might see or see commenters, right? But even if it's 12 views while you're live, once I share it to all the baseball groups, that show, Drew, does 2,500 views on Facebook alone. YouTube, we haven't figured out a way to manipulate yet, but Twitter, we get a bunch of views. Roku, I know we're getting a lot of views, but I don't have, KPIs to show that. But listen. I've wanted to do this. My wife is not on board. My retirement plan was to buy an RV, a good size one, and travel the country. I would have, if it was up to me. If I hadn't met my wife, I likely would have bought an RV, and that's all I would have owned. I would have a car I pulled behind it, but I would live in different parts of the country at different times of the year. That's what I would have done. He's talking about traveling America to sports events as part of the marketing media, at least to get a rental for a sports media road trip. It's possible we could do that. A train. One thing I'm doing is taking a train across the country at some point. I'm a big train person. I want to take a train east to west, and then I want to take the Pacific rail up from California to Washington. So we'll do, whenever we do this in the coming years, assuming I'm still doing this show and able to, that's going to be one of the trips that we take. River cruises, we've put off. I know Drew and his wife do a bunch of those, and I got to get ready to wrap this up. But that's something that's in our future. I just haven't wanted to do any of that while I'm working, because when I'm off now, I don't want to sightsee. I don't want to go to castles. I don't want to go to pyramids and wherever else, historical places around the world. Didn't want to go. I just wanted to chill and shut my brain off. So got to get through, but who knows what we'll do. No, now I didn't have a single old fashioned on the trip. Soon it'll be fantasy baseball updates. Can't wait to be. That's me. You'll be battling me. 2,500 people seeing that I don't actually know anything about baseball. No, we know something. We do as well as any other prognosticators, Drew. You have a great weekend too, Danny. Thank you for the stars, Danny. You're the best, man. We'll try to pay that internet bill with that. Guys, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to run. You guys have a great weekend. Rest of your weekend. Keith Engle for TGI Sports Talk Sunday Stream of Consciousness. You guys have been awesome as always. We'll see you on Wednesday with the College Football Huddle. I'll also replay the Mike Westhoff interview a few times as well. You guys have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.